Well, hello everyone. Um, I don't know what I'm doing. Hi everyone. So this is Dr. Isabelle Amigues. I am very excited to talk to you about diet. It's actually really interesting for me to realize that I have never talked to you about diet. And so it's actually one of my team members that was like, hey, why do you never talk about diet? And for me, it was so obvious. And diet is such an obvious topic that I never really thought that I needed to talk to you about it. So here I am. I'm going to try to share my knowledge with you. And knowledge, you're going to see there's not much when it comes to what we know in terms of science. But I'm going to tell you the story that made me first realize how important diet was. So I was in France. I was during my first training, and I was um, working with. Actually, I wasn't working. I was dealing with, talking with one of my friends, who's a rock climber, and she was telling me, I have actually realized that there's a huge connection between the pain in my joint and what I eat. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. At the time, just mind you, this is more than 20 years ago. At the time, when you were asking rheumatologists, they would have told you that no, there is zero connection between diet and how you're doing. And those patients who are asking you, you don't have to worry. You don't even have to talk to them about this. And to be honest, we didn't get any sort of training in nutrition. And so the only training we got was how many calories is in different food, and if you were to do a nutrition, a parenteral nutrition or nasogastric nutrition, what do you give? Like super exciting, absolutely not exciting, and really not at all what our usual patients are asking. Like this is important for someone that's in the hospital. Other than the hospital, you don't really need to know this. Uh, and so very interesting, like really gaslighting. And so that there's this friend that told me this. And then during that time, I got a couple of patients that were telling me this. They were like, my rheumatoid arthritis, it flares if I'm drinking milk, and it flares if I'm eating a lot of sugar. And at this time already, I started thinking, well, is there a link between what we eat and our inflammatory arthritis? And so, again, gaslighting in the medical population. No one talks about diet, nothing. And then one day, there's actually a really good study that's coming out of the nursing study. So it's nurses that have been followed prospectively for many, many years. And we asked them, like, what do they eat? What's their diet in general? Do they have rheumatoid arthritis? What do they eat? And so on. And it turns out that diet actually is shown to not necessarily, it's not cause, but there's a correlation between diet and having a rheumatologic disorder, and particularly rheumatoid arthritis. And so, what are those correlation? And you know what's interesting is that patients are always right. And what the patients were saying, which is like sugar, processed food, and sugar is one of the most processed food you may have. Alcohol, that's not red wine. So red wine seems to have a little bit of an anti-inflammatory effect. And red meat. All of this is found to be associated with more risk of inflammatory arthritis, such as rheumatoid arthritis. So I actually believe that the vast majority of people who are looking, and if you found this video because you're looking at diet and rheumatoid arthritis, or diet and psoriatic arthritis, or diet and gout, you actually know what to do. I bet you know what to do. And I think that that's why I didn't want until now to share it with you, because I think you guys are smart. I don't think, I like, to me, it's not like, why would I tell you something when you actually know, right? But here's the thing. I do also think that coming from a physician, it's going to have more importance. So I'm going to tell you. what you already know, but you didn't want to know, because that's exactly what it is. You probably didn't want me to tell you to stop eating ice cream, and yet I'm here to tell you that if you want to prevent a flare, or if you want to prevent rheumatoid arthritis, not eating ice cream is probably the way to go. And so, what, I'm not a fan of saying what you cannot do. I prefer to say what you can do. And so, instead of looking at what you cannot do, we're going to talk about what you can do. When you're shopping, what you want to do is to go into the produce, like the produce section. Okay, so you want to go and you want to eat the vegetables that are the most vibrant in colors than you have. So go and check those. And where do you have like red onions, maybe it's kale, salad that's super green, and eat beans and bok choy and sunchokes. And I'm gonna make it a game for you. What if you could? How many months will it take you if you decide that every week I'm gonna change and I'm gonna try something new? How many months will it take for you to go to Whole Food, Safeway, whatever, like your grocery shop, right? And how many months will it take for you to be like, I've actually tried all of this? And let's make a game, and please put it in the comments here. Like, how many months do you think this is going to take you? I think if I were to try things that are different, for me, it probably would take 2 months, because then that's 8. I bet that there is 8 things that I haven't yet tried. Oh, maybe there's more than that. 12 weeks, because there's probably 12 things that I haven't yet tried at the grocery shop in the produce section. And try it different ways. So, for example, I'll give you an example. I tried bok choy. I had no idea how to do it. So I first panned it. Then I tried it in the oven. You can roast anything roasted. Usually for me is very good with a little bit of olive oil, right? So you try that and you see. And that way, it's a game to eat. And it's not like a restriction. I'm not telling you what I am telling you as a physician. Avoid sugar, avoid processed food, avoid anything that's packaged. And it's, if you're just thinking at it like this, produce section, great for you. Packaged, not great for you. And if you just do that, because that can be just the first step, if you just do that, you will feel better. You will also look at your fridge differently, because now when you're opening your fridge, it's full of colors. And you will feel better. You will feel better because you will eat vitamins, and you will eat fresh produce, and you will eat things that are actually full of nutrition. And those calories, first of all, you need so much more vegetables or fruits to have the same amount of calories than if you had in a packaged food. But those, they will actually make you have more energy. Look, this is something I started doing after my own diagnosis of cancer. And what I can tell you is that everyone, oh my goodness, Isabelle, you're looking so good. And I was like, yeah, that's clearly not the chemotherapy, right? Like, it's not the chemo that's making me feel look good. What was making me look good is that I had, until then, because I was taking my health for granted, I was constantly eating not produce, like I was like eating packaged food. And that's all I was doing. I was like, I wanted to make everything that I could eat that would be inside a package, so that I could put it in the microwave and it was done. And then I changed it after, my body was like, nope, that doesn't work for us. I changed it and I started eating fresh produce, and I started eating fruits and a ton of vegetables. And suddenly I looked better. I felt better. Again, not the chemo. And I continue to do this. What I will say in terms of nutrition is that, so sugar can cause flares. Alcohol, because it's full of sugar, can cause flare. There is this thing where we think that red wine may be a little bit anti-inflammatory. If you're drinking like 1 glass of red wine, and a small glass, not a big one, that may be anti-inflammatory. That's something that you can consider. And those are like, those are some of the the things to think about and to avoid. And I'm not a big fan of avoiding. What I think is easier is to look for what will work for you. And so if you can go to a market, just go to the market, because at the market, you'll have much more produce than you will have in a grocery shop. In a grocery shop, the only way to only have produce is to literally go in and go out, right? And it's not easy because they do it on purpose, where they make you go through the produce section. So you put a couple of veggies and all this, but then they created the whole, there's feng shui, like, so that you have a better feeling in an environment. Well, there is also a grocery store layout that is made on purpose. They change the layout all of the time, so that you're constantly having to look for your things. So let's say you have a list and you're like, this is exactly what I want. They make it on purpose. You can check that at Trader Joe, for example. And I love Trader Joe, but it's all packaged food. And they do it on purpose, where they change where your things are. So it's never the same place, because they want you to roam so that you are buying more things. And so because they put the produce section at first, you're feeling super good about yourself. But then the issue is that you're still putting products that are fully processed, and you don't want to do that. So you go into the produce section and you're like, no, I'm going out. And if you want any packaged food, just buy it online. That won't go wrong, and it will come to your house, right? So buy it online. That's the way to do this. Or you're going after a really big meal when you're not hungry, and you're like, okay, this is the list of the things that I want, right? But you want to really choose what you're going to eat. And so we talked about what to eat: a ton of veggies, tons of fruits, very little meat, if at all. Try to not have meat. You can have a little bit of fish, especially wild caught, and in general, you're trying to avoid alcohol. I'm also going to recommend to avoid gluten, because it is very pro-inflammatory because of the way it's processed. It used to not be processed the way it is, but it is processed the way it is, and it is what it is. And I'm going to recommend that you don't eat gluten. I know it's hard, but it is possible. Eat grains. Quinoa is wonderful. It has protein. Any grains, like really, there's a ton of grains. Like chickpeas are wonderful. Lentils are wonderful, and they can really make up for that sensation of needing bread or something, like pasta or something. So then you're putting beans, and you're like, oh, I don't actually need pasta. And I used to be someone that ate pasta. And the sugar, you can actually do honey if you really want to. But honestly, also what you're going to realize is that the fruits have a lot more sweetness to them than before. So that's definitely something that you will realize as you're changing your diet. The last piece of information about diet that I want you to know, because those are short, right? And we can go into a lot more details. But since I want to keep those short so that you can implement them, the last piece that I want to share is the fact that you don't want to drive yourself crazy. Do 80% diet, right? So you're aiming for 80% of improved diet that's healthy for you and so on. If you have 20% leeway, that allows you to still have fun, to still have the cake that you wanted if you were with your friends, to still have a drink here and there because you're having friends and so on. It's not about stopping you from having a great life, because the goal is for you to have a great life. Okay, so 80%, a ton of veggies, a ton of fruits. Eat from there. Change anything that's gluten, anything that's carbs, that are produced that are I don't know why. I think it's a French thing, but anything that's processed, you wanna try to avoid and put things that are fresh. And then 80%. Don't drive yourself crazy. Okay, those are like my main things to remember. And Keith, hi, Rock Dog. Hi, doctor. Balanced diet is good generally, so it must help with health. Yes, it is. I fully agree. And for you, you've said allergies. Allergies are linked to my GPA, I'm sure. If an allergy kicks in, my sinuses flares slightly every time. Okay, yeah, that's totally possible. Allergies, I'm wondering if you're putting this in relationship with the balanced diet or not, but totally, that's totally possible, or this is related to another of our talks before, but yeah, absolutely. And then I'm going to just say hi to Kelsey outside, Kessa Delirio, Nino Rain. And then if you're watching this on replay, please hashtag replay and then share this with someone. Please, please, please come and subscribe on YouTube. This is really important for us. That puts us in front of more people. And then, as you have maybe noticed, I've started a vlog where I just share some tidbits of why I'm doing what I do. So with a pleasure, I will see you next week. Let me know what you're going to do and how much time you think it's going to take you to stop discovering new things inside the produce section. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you then. Take care.